Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. How happy am I to be joined by Jayne Buxton, an amazing author that I read her book about. She just told me it was maybe 18 months ago. I can't even
Mhm.
believe that. Which is called The Great Plant-Based Con. Get ready for this discussion, you guys. Hi, Jayne.
Hi, nice to be here.
I think when you read the title of the book, you pretty much can figure out where you are on that
Yeah,
topic.
we can stop now. Everybody will get it. They know what I'm saying, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually was introduced to you, Jayne, in a way through a veterinarian named Nick Thompson and Connor Brady and their podcast. And those two guys and I, we see pretty eye to eye on the state of the planet, how we can actually really fix the planet. And a little bit about me, real quick, Jayne.
Hmm.
Almost. So what are we? 24. So we're about 16 years ago, 1/6 in 2008. I was taught to be a climate leader directly by Al Gore. I went and I learned
Know that.
how to give. Yeah, I went to give his speech to churches, schools, all for free. And I basically used all of his slides. I mean, he had over 300, I think it was, slides that we had access to. I even rented out a theater at my expense, sold tickets, got permission to do this, and then just reimbursed the cost of the theater. Didn't make any money. Was going to give it all back to the Climate Reality Project, which was founded by Al Gore. So I have a very deep, uh, uh, and even before that, I was very involved in climate and was very concerned. And I'm increasingly more educated on the planet, and I'm finding that it's really, really surprising. It's also very disheartening that a lot of what we're being told on how we can actually address climate change to the extent it is happening
Yeah.
is not really the full picture. I'm very disheartened by that in the subsequent 16 years. So, um, do you have any comment on that? I just wanted to share that with both the audience and with you. Do you have any comments on like any of that I've just said?
Sure, sure. I mean, you are absolutely on the money when you say we're not getting the full picture. We're getting a very one-sided, very skewed um, picture of what the problem is and how we're going to fix it. So the problem is always at the moment, it's carbon tunnel vision is what we have. And therefore we must fix it through net zero. So there is this really restricted view of what we're supposed to be doing. And there's very little mention of soil. It's only lip service paid to soil health, which is the fundamental problem that we really have and the root of all of our solutions as well. There's only lip service ever paid to biodiversity as well. So those things take a back seat to this whole carbon thing. And then you layer upon it the fact that actually, we think these numbers for carbon and emissions are accurate. We think that we know what is causing the different levels of emissions, but there's so many errors. There's so much inaccuracy built into that system. And I covered some of that in my book about the different ways, for instance, that livestock is made a scapegoat on the basis of false allegations, false numbers. And really, since then, since I wrote that particular bit of the book, it's only got worse. I have become aware of it being worse than I even thought it was. So there's another book that's just come out called Flawed Figures and Fragile Futures by an Irish woman called Natalie Webster. And she has exposed just how incorrect these numbers are for livestock and how they penalize farming and they let fossil fuel-based industries off the hook. And so, that's a very long way of saying, yeah, we're getting the wrong picture. We're really getting the wrong idea.
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also, down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show. Yeah. What you always want to look at is what is foreboding in a conversation, and look backwards at why that is, and then you pretty much will know who is in control.
Mm-hmm.
Who is really guiding a conversation or legislation. And there's a great book. It's been around forever. Almost everybody knows it. It's called, let me see, I just wrote it down. How to Lie with Statistics. I always forget the title because it's so simple.
Yeah.
How to Lie with Statistics. And there's a lot of books on this topic. And there should be a book, maybe this would be your next book, How to Lie with Forecasts. And these models that are built. So what's happening is a lot of scientists are creating models, computer models. So people say, wow, that's awesome. That's great. We can look into the future. Not really. These models have been wrong over and over and over again. And as a climate leader, look, at all at my expense, I did all of this climate leader work. I traveled, I think it was about 3 hours. I drove 3 hours to go to this event. I paid for my hotel. I spent all of my energy to learn. I got up and gave speeches. I'm not really very much it's not a natural thing for me. I did it because I really, really care about the planet. And I have now come to learn that a lot of the things, I wrote these things down, these predictions, wrong. So how do you think I feel when I had a couple of parents that brought their boys to one of my events and came up to me at the end and said, and they were obviously very interested in the topic. They paid money to come. They paid for a ticket. And she said, this is so doomsday and so depressing. How dare you do this to my kids? And I thought, I was of course, righteous. And, I was just like, what are you talking about? This is what you came for. You came to learn the horrible truth about what's happening to the world. That was 16 years ago. And a lot of those things haven't come true. And we have very short-term memories. And when it's convenient for us, talk about an inconvenient truth. When it's convenient for us, we remember certain things that justify our beliefs and our behaviors and who we trust and who we believe in. There's a lot of psychology here. It's genius stuff. And so I just want to add that layer to it, that I've been very, very disappointed with how I have been brought in to the climate conversation. And I believe it is not a light bulb. It is not a lawnmower. It is not a car even. It is the soil health, just like you said. Regenerative ag is the way, because we can actually, there's a documentary out there on Netflix. If you have Netflix, just go look up, what's that documentary called with Woody Harrelson?
Kiss the Ground or Common Ground. There's a couple of them. Yeah.
Kiss the Ground. And it very clearly says, look, we don't even need that many farms. Like, I think it's like 4% of our farms, if they were regenerative. In 20 years, we draw down, without changing any of our habits, we draw down all of our carbon. That's excess carbon. And we need carbon. So let's go into carbon, because you use that word. Why are we now starting, why is there a war on carbon when we are carbon, when our dirt is full of, like, everything living is carbon? Carbon. And
plants need carbon, and the world would die without it. Yeah. Why have we got a war on that? I don't know the precise origins of that. I just know that in 2018, thereabouts in the middle of that year, we started to talk about carbon a lot. we started to put in place and use the lexicon of net zero. Okay, it wasn't around before then, but we started to use it. And it was from that moment, combined with a few other developments in the year 2019, that I began to see the uptick in this whole push for plant-based. It became something not fringe anymore, not something that animal welfare activists were mainly talking about. It suddenly had this huge boost from this environmental movement. So, and once an idea gets fixed in the heads of the people who are driving policy, it's very hard to shift it. So carbon gets fixed in their heads, and it has first mover advantage in a way. You just try getting anything else on the agenda. You try getting any new facts about carbon on the agenda. And, I liken this to the very same thing that happened in the health world. If we look back, an analogy, in the 1950s, there developed a theory. There was developed based on, the work of Ansel Keys and others, a theory that saturated fat drove your cholesterol up and that caused heart disease. From the moment that the American Heart Association decided to put its might behind that theory, decided that was the theory, all truth was lost. All chance of truth, all chance of exploration was lost. Nobody for the next 50, 60 years, and even today, could admit to any other theory. And we look at things like, even as new information came along, even as the tests were done, that proved that this was not the case, that saturated fat was not driving heart disease. Even as that information piled up, the minds could not be changed. The American Heart Association was not going to backtrack. And it has, here we are, 2024, and there has been no backtracking except at the sidelines. So it's first mover advantage. That's it. And so the soil, when going back to the environment again, the soil doesn't stand a chance in people's mindsets because carbon is already established there as the primary emissions are everything.
Yeah. And first mover advantage is first funding advantage.
Yes.
But once you start getting the funding, there is a massive amount of momentum and incentive for folks to maintain that funding. I mean, it is incredibly interesting to just, I always find it very interesting when people like to use the words conspiracy, because conspiracy is actually, or conspiracy theory. Conspiracies are real. People conspire and they work together. It's a very real thing. It's not diabolical in a lot of cases either. But when they use conspiracy theory, I always find it very interesting to say, well, you're clearly labeling this conversation, dismissing it. You're labeling it as a non-issue. But what do you know about it? And what do you know about the complexity of it? And what's so brilliant about all of these programs is they're oversimplified. Everything's oversimplified so that the audience, the whole entire audience, can go, this is great. Zero tolerance, zero carbon, zero this, zero that, zero
everything. That's right.
Everything. It's like, what? That bad thing, get rid of it, and there's no room for nuance. Zero nuance, zero real facts that are helping us really go, gee, I really want to make sure this planet's great. I have every incentive to do that. And I have in my heart, that's all I want for this whole planet and everybody on it. I don't give a damn about cars. I don't give a damn about anything. If it doesn't belong in the health of the planet and move a needle, then we should look at it. However, we're having an oversimplified conversation, and the true health of us as a species, as human species, and all mammals that are eating, in our case, for my company, dogs, pets, horses, cats. If we're not eating food grown from healthy soil, and that's, grown on arid land and has to have all of these chemical inputs put on just so that life will somewhat grow. And then, of course, they have to pile on pesticides and pile on herbicides. That is not a way to exist. I don't care how healthy the planet is. If we don't have pollinating animals, we don't have, healthy soil to grow our food on. Hydroponics won't save us.
No.
Other ways of pollinating. I don't care what your idea is. I've heard all kinds of crazy ideas, from drones to other devices that farmers can use in machines. It's like, what? So oversimplifying always bothers me, and it is in the nuance that when you start to peel away this onion, it's in the nuance that you see, oh my gosh, like this is really not an honest, true, real conversation.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the other thing that's not going to save us, hydroponics won't save us, but neither will the new alt meat inventions in their various forms. So whether they're plants mushed together to make something that looks like meat, or whether it's lab grown using fermented products, and the new technology, neither of those is working at the moment properly. So we've seen the complete, the virtual collapse of the plant-based meat sector, having trouble convincing people it's not nutritionally the same, doesn't taste the same, et cetera, and has been shown to be up to 25 times more destructive to the environment because of its reliance on energy. And then you get the alt meat in the form of this lab-grown product. And there are many scientists involved in the creation of that product who don't believe it's ever going to work. So when people say we just need to shift towards those things and that will be better, it's not as if we even have anything to shift towards. It's just not there. So George Monbiot is famous for arguing for the adoption of those technologies, but they're not here yet. He talks like they're going to be here tomorrow. They're not even going to be here in 10 years' time. Yeah. So in the meantime, all we have is helping the soil, reversing desertification around the world, intensifying soil health, and even the things that people don't immediately connect with soil. So we have a lot of floods. Okay, we have more floods than we used to. Those floods are more catastrophic than they used to be because the soil cannot hold that water. And I've seen with my eyes what good soil can hold and what poor soil can hold. And it's like night and day. And people aren't connecting those things that to stop the floods, which, yes, we all agree, unwanted flooding is not something we'd like to see. The soil is part of that solution. And then the other thing, you talk about conspiracy theories and whether they really are conspiracy theories or whether they're just things that people have realized before other people realize them. True things. There was a lot of discussion about the floods in Dubai recently, and turned out they were as a result of man messing around with the weather systems. So it was man making a mistake. It was nothing to do with climate change. It was nothing to do with all the things people like to think it might be due to. So you're right when you say people have to look for the nuance. It isn't there in the arguments, but they have to find it. People have to find it, or else they're going to be misled. Yeah.
I always find it really interesting that there's, along with you, I'll put you in this group of like Michael Schellenberger, who is an amazing journalist now, and he's won awards. His credentials are second to none. He was wasn't he a Greenpeace guy? He was I think he was like reviewed as a journalist of the year for Greenpeace, or I'm just recalling something. He was very much
I don't know about that background.
And although I don't share the same CV he does, we have very similar backgrounds of where we were on the environment, what side we were clear on. And, he and I haven't changed. I'm not an investor in oil and gas or any other alternative. I have no agenda except the truth. The truth is my agenda. And I just want to do what works. I want to do what's right. And I don't want to chase my tail on something that isn't going to be. One of the things that I thought of when you were last speaking is this, they're always moving the goalpost. Well, like, this is coming. This is around the corner. This is happening.
Yes.
And so it gives everybody this, they have this plausible deniability. Like, well, if we don't get the adoption of the fake hamburger, now it'll never happen. So we all have to have faith, and we all have to jump in with both feet and 2 feet and 2 arms fully into the pool. Otherwise, aren't you, you're not playing, you don't want the solution to come, because it'll only come if we first have the customers. It's a very interesting, as a business guy since the age of 14, you look at that business model and you go, wow, like, that's pretty genius. You get people to buy your product before it's affordable. It's all subsidized by venture capitalists or whatever. And by the way, I have a few friends that have invested in these fake meat companies. So I have every reason to keep my opinion to myself and not be on this show talking about this. I got a lot of friends that feel differently than I do. But I am very honest. I'm very upfront, and I say at dinners with them, I say, look, you're wrong. It's not happening. I'll be the first one to admit when I'm wrong, and when it happens. But I'm telling you, this kind of full faith jump into something is, just look at the history. Just look at where, like, really dive into the beyond world of real meat. The other thing that you said is over processing. These things take a tremendous amount of energy, and they're considered processed food. I could even make an argument they might be more processed than cereal. Certain cereals.
Yeah.
Because and so everybody now knows, like, it would be foolish to eat a cereal diet. Now, I understand that the ingredients are different, but overly processed foods are not the key to health. Full stop. No. Period.
And people are recognizing that. Yeah, they are recognizing that. It's a UPF, ultra processed food, has become a new buzzword now. I don't know if you felt that over where you are, but now everyone's talking about it, and there's a couple of books out about it, and so everyone. And I find it kind of interesting that is running alongside the anti-meat campaign, because the ultra-processed food, if you're talking vegan food, they're one and the same in a way, because, you cannot make a vegan cream or cheese without a lot of processing, without the additives and the emulsifiers and the extra bits and pieces that you're taking to replace what's been taken out. So they are almost the same thing. And I wonder when that penny's going to drop, that by arguing for reductions in processed food and reductions in meat at the same time, we're backing ourselves into an impossible corner to navigate.
I just want to be clear for the folks that, make like a cashew cream sauce. You can make it yourself in your home. I think what Jayne's referring to is to bring it to market, bring it to, you can whip up cashews, make a cashew cream with some water in a Vitamix or a high-speed blender and all that. So that's, we're stipulating that, and we understand that. Now, but to bring something to market, it requires a tremendous amount of factory processing and a tremendous amount of energy. But what's so cool about it, if you're an investor, is it's proprietary. It's hard to make. It's patented. Cows aren't patented. Cows are so annoying that you have to move them, and you have to love them and care for them and feed them. Yeah. There's things you can't control with the weather and, their illnesses. But we know that people are out there doing it right. Amazing people like Will Harris at White Oak Pastures, And this whole thing you talked about, floods and runoff of water. Go to Will Harris's video, look at his soil that's all regenerative, what that looks like when the runoff, the big rains come, versus his neighbor.
Yeah.
He'll show you exactly the two converge. You see one and the other, it's like clear as day and night. What the difference is between the organic soil that actually absorbs and holds all that moisture and the really dry, arid, chemical, fake. We've turned all these lands and soil into like Franken soil. It's just a Frankenstein soil. It's just got a chemical on chemical, and the only thing it's good for is the chemical companies.
Yeah. Well, you talk about Will Harrison. He's very famous. I know you've had him on your show, haven't you, too? He's very inspirational, as are others like Gabe Brown, like Alan Williams.
Yes.
There are dozens of them in the United States. And over here, we have a real growing appreciation of just what you're talking about the value of soil health. And there's a conference which I'm going to in about 3.5 weeks' time called Groundswell. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's it's a big Regenerative conference. It grows every year. Thousands and thousands of people go. And these people all believe. They all believe in the power of soil health and doing any farming in any way that protects that. And they're not necessarily all.
Can I just interject? Just interject? I don't believe like it is a myth or something that can be believed. They know, they understand, they know. That's I just want to, just for the people watching that maybe
aren't correct.
Yeah, they know and they don't believe. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they've seen it, they've done it, or they are doing it and they've seen it. So I take that as quite a hopeful sign that this is going on. That said, our government doesn't seem to register that that's going on. It doesn't assist that process very much. And it acts in many ways contrary to those ways of farming. So I'm not saying that we're making huge progress, but it's a little glimmer of hope that so many people do see the benefit of farming in that way. Yeah.
So Jayne, the next place I want to go to is what in my world, pets. And so one of the things I just want to clean up a little bit from what we've been talking about so far is this fermentation that is used to make, fake meats and things. And this is called precision fermentation. It resembles nothing except the word fermentation to the kind of fermentation we use.
No.
The very old 1,000-year-old fermentation. There is technically fermentation happening. I can stipulate that, but it is absolutely completely different. And whenever I hear the term precision fermentation, my eyebrows go up and my ears listen very, very carefully. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about that to any extent about precision fermentation?
Well, the thing about precision fermentation, and I'm not an expert on this, but I have read the explanations by experts that, for one thing, it's based on inputs. It's not nice vegetables and things like that you're talking about, or meats that are then fermented, is it? Or dairy that's fermented. It's taking cells and yeast and other factors and putting them together. So these are not things that exist in the world in the way we think they do, that we can see them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is it's being done on these vast scales in these massive bioreactors. And because it's being done that way, it is very, very prone to contamination. And they really have yet to be able to solve that problem of contamination in these vast, giant bioreactors. So this is, again, it's a different way of looking at it, rather than, say, a smaller vat of fermented vegetables that you're then going to put in a jar, or things that ferment themselves in a jar. That process that people can relate to at home as being a good process. Yeah. This really has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Well, it's also so interesting, like the things that spark the fermentation, that's the inputs you're referring to. Mm-hmm. By the way, some of those can be animal cells. And yes. So people who think they're eating vegan are not. And some people, maybe for religious reasons or animal rights issues or whatever those reasons may be, which I respect all of those reasons, just look under the hood deeper at what exactly you're buying. It's always the same thing with, Jayne, our supplements. Like if you look at the supplement industry, I'm talking about human and animal, but the vitamin mineral supplement industry, all the things that we buy to address issues. And what you quickly learn is things that come from like really pure sources are pretty expensive to come from those sources. So in our brilliance and our science, our infinite wisdom in science, one of the best things that science is great for is doing something cheaper, better, faster. Sure. I'm not saying that's best for our health, but it is the way that industry appreciates using science: better, cheaper, faster. So as a company, when you can make something much cheaper and also faster, whoa, you want to take a look at that. But in my estimation, that's why we do what we do, basically the old way. We grind up real plant matter, real fresh produce. We get it delivered fresh and we grind it up and then we ferment it in the old way. And is there a cheaper, faster way to do it? Yes, of course. You can use inputs for that too, but I don't think there's a better way. So with regards to precision fermentation and fermenting meats in culture, basically you're using petri dishes on a very large scale, of course. Yeah. But you're culturing cells. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consume it, and I certainly wouldn't let my dog consume it. But anyway, any other thoughts on that topic, and then we'll move on past.
Well, I wouldn't consume it either, and I don't think anybody should be even thinking about consuming it until some major testing has been done for many years about the health impacts of these foods, and that isn't going to happen, unfortunately. So we'll all be guinea pigs if ever they get enough of the product out the door. We'll be guinea pigs because the FDA nor any other regulatory agency is likely to require that testing like you would a drug, for instance. So I would certainly steer clear of it if it ever gets to us, if it ever gets out of the factory. And I don't have a lot of faith that it will.
Well, look, I mean, it's in our stores currently. We have all these different fake, meats in our stores. And, I always see they're discounted. They're all subsidized in some form or fashion. And so they're trying to get adoption. And I always feel bad for them. I just go, either they are completely delusional that this is a real thing. And I feel bad for that if they are, or they're completely diabolical and don't care. And they're just pushing this, like they're working every day on this. I mean, it's just not a mission as far as I'm concerned. It's not a righteous and worthy goal to feed people and nourish them this way. And I feel bad if that's the case. Yeah. But I just find it funny that it's always discounted. It's always
absolutely.
It's always the way. And people, God bless people. They're always trying to, I'll try to do something healthy. Maybe it's eat less meat. Maybe it's, have less impact, quote unquote, on the environment. So let's just go into, first of all, folks, it's really easy to look at the ingredients of these things. Please look at all the omega-6s, the PUFAs, so-called polyunsaturated fatty acids. You don't need that much of them in your diet. You should not have too much of them in your diet, and all this other stuff that you need to make. Science in this area is really mostly not focused on our health. It's mostly focused on the mouth pleasure that the thing they're making will give us. And so it's like, what's the chemical reaction? What's the texture? So somebody might say, well, so what? That's fine. And to you, I'd say, good for you. You know, it's a free market. Choose what you want to eat. Choose what you want to put in your mouth. I have no problem with that. Choose what you want to give to your pets. But all I'm saying is know the ingredients, and don't just fall for a marketing. Don't fall for a motto. Don't fall for a, what some genius advertiser, they buy the best money can buy of marketing, sales. I mean, these people are funded to the hilt, and so they know what they're doing. So can we just talk about the difference in nutrition between real meat, and let's just go for the highest order here: grass-fed, regenerative beef. Let's just go beef, because everybody's afraid. They've gotten us all worried about cow flatulence and burps, and it used to be flatulence, now it's burps, and let's just talk about that versus like any plant-based food, since that's just a general topic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there has been a really comprehensive study of this done by somebody called Stefan Van Vliet, who used to be at Duke University, and he's moved, I think it's Utah now. Anyway, he did what's called a metabolomic study. That's a tongue twister, and I don't know if you've seen it, but they compared a plant-based burger, and I don't know if it was Impossible or if it was Beyond, but it was one of them. And they ran all the ingredients through a special machine that could give them metabolomic profile to look at all the tiny nutrients that are in there, not just the big ones that we think about, right? Not just B12, which they can inject or they'll try to inject. And they found a 90% difference between the fake burger and the real meat burger. 90%. Now, some of that 90 might be this, they had some better things. Some of it might be they had worse things, but they are not the same. So if people think they're getting like for like, they're not. The other thing we need to remember is when something is made out of plants, it's only got the plant version of the nutrients in it. And we know that the plant-based nutrients are not as bioavailable to us as the animal food-based nutrients. So vitamin A, beta carotene from a carrot, say if it's from carrots that's getting into the burger, then it's not going to be bioavailable. And 50% of us can't even convert that to vitamin A in our bodies. Vitamin B12. Conversion is the key. And people don't realize that for loads of those vitamins and minerals, conversion is so much less than the actual what it states. So they might state that they give you X number of grams of iron, for instance, or calcium, but the amount you're getting can be as little as 12% of whatever that number is for iron in particular. And we know about the difficulties of absorbing calcium in its artificial form. We know about the difficulties of absorbing B12 in its artificial form. So as you say, people can eat what they want. And if they want to do 2 of their meals a week and feel they're doing some good by swapping out real meat for the plant-based meat, they can do that if they want, but don't do it under the illusion that you're getting equal amount of nutrition, because you're not. And you may get a whole bunch of other stuff too. So gastro distress will be increased because of all the other additives that are in there, and because of the carbohydrates which are in there in excess. So they're not equal.
What is it about? Why do we always keep trying to reinvent the wheel? Why are we you can never look at something and just go, boy, isn't that perfect? Isn't that just as perfect as it can be?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't know if I won't say the name of the company here, but in 1921, Jayne, and I know you know this company, there was a
Yeah.
white bread company that, was born. And what they did is they said, look, we can make bread cheaper, faster, and all we have to do is add
Mhm.
some vitamins at the end, and we'll call it enriched.
Mm.
Sounds pretty great. I'd love to eat something that's enriched. Enriched with what? Wow.
Mm.
And nobody ever asked that question. And then we later found out, we know now today, the folic acid that's in these enriched foods is not good for a lot of people. They
Yeah.
have the wrong metabolic pathways and enzymatic. They're genetically not able to process some of those ingredients. So it's harkening back to
Yeah.
what you said earlier.
Mm.
What we did is we tried to play God with bread that could have been very simply made just from,
Yeah.
really good whole wheat. If that's what you want, it's pretty easy to make. The thing is, it's expensive. And so I'll say it this way, it's more expensive.
Mm.
And so a company came out and they said, we'll make it cheaper, better, faster. And now we know, most people know, like, stay away from me if it's enriched white bread.
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
real. So there's this whole new movement of, quote, white bread, the simple plain bread
Yeah.
that's
Sourdough
made
or
with
something.
incredible
Yeah.
ingredients. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I always find that really funny. Um,
I think people
all
are
right, so
smarter than we give them credit for. I think
yeah.
um,
Oh,
people
I give them credit. Yeah,
are actually shifting their view. They're seeing through the charade, actually, of these fortified, enriched, fake products, whatever you call it. And in fact, I was watching an Instagram post by quite a famous doctor over here. I won't name him either, but he's big in the field and he's big into gut health and all of that. And his post was, I'm giving up dairy because I don't think it's good for you and it's not good for the environment. And so instead, I drink fermented dairy, fermented yogurt, and fermented milk. And so I'm thinking, first of all, my question was, well, if dairy is bad for the environment, how is fermented dairy any different for a start? And you know that I don't believe that dairy is exclusively bad for the environment either. So set that aside. I then went into the comments, and there must have been 700 comments from people. They were all calling this guy out, with the exception, maybe 10% were, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll follow your advice. And most of them were calling out the inaccuracies, the hypocrisies, the fact that he had completely ignored the benefits of dairy to some populations in terms of heart health. He hadn't mentioned that at all. He completely ignored the vitamin deficiency element, or the fact that, for instance, replacement milks like oat milk give you sugar spikes because they're actually basically vegetable oil and sugar. So none of that was mentioned. And, at least 650 of the 700 people knew that. I was really heartened by that.
Yeah. So are you saying that it was not cow-based dairy or animal-based dairy? It was some sort of plant-based dairy that was fermented?
No, it wasn't plant-based. It was fermented dairy.
Okay.
So
All
do you
right.
know what I mean? Which is a process.
Yeah.
So kefir, for instance, it's fermented version, but it's still got dairy in it.
Yeah.
And so if you're against dairy for the environment, then you can't be for kefir. I'm sorry, you can't. So
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
yeah,
Because I was listening to you going, she must be talking about some plant-based milk that is now fermented. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think what most people are now really, there's a whole other war on raw milk, at least in the United States. And I'm amazed how many people have educated themselves on raw milk and the safety. There's far more problems with conventional industrial dairy farms, which, by the way, treat these cows horribly.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. Doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
These cows can live amazing lives and honestly far better than they would in the wild.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so yeah, the interesting thing about because you started with it was an Instagram post. Just I love social media. I love the democratization of information. I love all of that. But what I'm increasingly conflicted with is, in order to get recognized on social media, if you're an influencer or business or something, it seems like a lot of people feel they have to have a new take on an old topic. And usually there is no new take on an old, there's like no, you can't put a new dress on that thing.
Yeah.
Or the emperor has no new clothes is another way of saying something like that. So there has to be a new take. It usually has to be controversial. If you read any of these books about like how to make a video go viral and all that, there's all these diabolical tips of like nothing is genuine.
Yeah.
There's nothing honest about any of this stuff. And so we're all like, we're flipping through, say, Instagram, and we're basically engaged in these dishonest conversations that nobody cares about. The poster, at least of which what the poster cares about is that they get, a ton of content, comments, a ton of likes, and new followers. The end, full stop.
Yeah. And it drives people to whatever they're selling. And of course, most of them are selling something, including this guy that I was talking about the other day. So, it drives people. And, so it's very hard. So you're right. It's a democratization. And I think it's really great on the one hand, but you have to be really smart about it, because you've got to recognize when people are trying to spin an old message in a new way, in an incorrect way. Then you get people, though, that are bringing old messages back to life. And there's a fellow here who does that called Eddie Abu. I don't know if you've cottoned on to him in the States, but he's grown from like 5,000 followers to almost 5 million or something in a very short space of time. He's cracking on and he's speaking to young people in a way that they can understand about real food, eat real food, don't eat processed stuff. So he goes and he helps people understand the labels. He walks into stores and he tells people when things are not good. And he's got a very simple message, and he's seen cooking eggs and meat every day, right? Simple, really, really simple. And he said that he started using that simple language to cut through the kind of mess and the quagmire out there on social media. And he doesn't use scientific studies. He doesn't need to. He knows he's got right on his side, and he just goes for it. So, there are those things which are really helpful and really cheering to see on social media, as well as the other, if you can just keep your eyes open for, the misleading aspects.
Well, I don't know of Eddie, but go Eddie. I'll be
you look him up, and I bet you'd enjoy him.
That's great. Let's now move over to pet food. So I know you're not a pet food expert, but to the extent you know about human health now, to the extent you know about human health, and the good thing we've got going for us is our dogs are mammals, just like we are. We share a lot of similarities, a lot. So we'll focus on dogs right now. So, actually, we should also focus on cats, because genetically, cats are even more strict carnivores. They call them obligate carnivores.
Yeah, I understood that. Yeah.
And that's just, folks, it's just millions of years of evolution. There's not much more to say about the topic. Where dogs are omnivore, like they're more omnivorish. They're scavengers. They can survive. They're survivors. And so I want to know, like, with regards to the alternative proteins, I mean, we hear about, of course, cricket protein has been around forever. I mean, like, you could go just Google and I know that in the States, they're for sure available, like cricket bars, like cricket protein. They call it cricket flour. it is, by the way, very high in protein. Can't take that away from it. That's just an analysis of a laboratory. Again, it depends how assimilatable, how bioavailable is it?
Yeah.
Have you evolved to eat crickets? Have you evolved to be able to make use of that? I always like to tell people, look, the shoe that I'm wearing right now, that has protein in it. Like you can't deny that. It has protein in it. You can find it with lab equipment. But if I eat my shoe or eat the sole of my shoe, am I able to derive any benefit from that protein? No, absolutely not. So extreme silly example, I stipulate that, but it's all the same thing. So really you can in isolation, you can put on a package, this has this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat, down the line. The question is like, do you, your dog, your cat, your bird, whatever it is, your horse, do they get the benefits of all of that? Can they actually process it? So I want to ask you about, like, tell me what you know about the bug world and the black soldier fly world and all of that. Like, I really love to know from you, like, what you know about that to whatever extent.
Yeah, probably not as much as you would like me to know, unfortunately.
Darn.
I just know that, with black soldier flies, for instance, potentially being used in things like fish farms and things like that, it may be a step forward. And I think it could be a step forward in lots of ways. You could give it to chickens as well. So there is that being experimented with. And it does have a lot of potential. And if we can get chickens off grain, that has two benefits, because we're not growing the grain. So we're not cutting down forests to grow grain. And we're also not giving chickens a diet which is high in omega-6s, which then goes through their bodies into our bodies. So, people may not be aware that they could be getting a high omega-6 dose from chicken because of what the chicken eats. So I think it has a lot of potential, but it's like everything else. To scale it up will bring its own challenges and its own environmental costs. Impacts. Exactly. Yes. So how do you grow enough of these crickets? In what format? Where do people want them farmed next to them in their communities? Yeah. This whole set of questions has to be answered. I don't know the answers. I just know it's not going to be the kind of panacea, I think, that maybe some people hope it's going to be because of those very complex implementation challenges.
Yeah. Boy, you very perfectly articulated. If you flipped the question on me, I probably would have given the same answer in the same way. You brought up fish. So that's a biologically species appropriate diet. That's what fish do. They eat bugs on the surface of the water. Okay. Yeah. A lot of fish do. And
chickens.
So and chickens. Yeah. And then chickens, worms, bugs, all that stuff. Those are all like, yay, great. So I would say, for the exact same reason you did, that these high PUFA, high linoleic acid, omega-6, it's all the same thing. I'm just giving you different terms for it, giving the audience different terms for it. Giving them an animal source, and I'm saying animal source in terms of the crickets and the bugs and the soldier bot fly, is a really cool thing. Now, our veterinarian, Jayne, Dr. Ian Billinghurst, is I think pretty indisputably the authority on biologically species appropriate diets for dogs and cats. So millions of years of history here, and he's dedicated his entire life to it. He's had one single message, the same message for it's going on 50 years now. Book that he published, best-selling on this topic, and it's 30 years old. So there's history. Right. Is all I want to just lay out for whoever's watching. And he said to me, in a private conversation, I said, "Hey, what do you think about these black soldier fly
Mm-hmm.
larvae? It's, by the way, it's not the flies, it's the larvae that they would harvest and they would be feeding. And
Mm.
people are talking about putting it in pet food as an alternative protein source. And he said, I don't have that much problem with it as long as it doesn't make up the majority of the protein source. Dogs are scavengers. They certainly eat bugs occasionally, not
Mm.
necessarily like a frog does by grabbing with the tongue and targeting them that way. But, there's lots of ways that dogs could get bugs in their diet in nature.
Mm.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not really talking about a preponderance, a large amount of the serving in the meal. And I think that's where, as people, where we go, maybe we go a little bit too far to the side of, well, a little bit of a good thing means a lot of a good thing is better, and it may not be. Um,
Right.
and then he said that my main concern is, what are they grown on? How are they grown? On what food? What are they eating? In what conditions? And then obviously, like whenever you
Mm-hmm.
get insects, millions of insects in a building, a warehouse or something. I mean, just like, they're usually, I mean, I can't speak to the dirtiness of them, but they're usually in very
Yeah.
dirty areas.
Yeah.
They're,
Contamination
they're
should be
not
a big issue. Yeah.
contamination. We have this problem with chickens, for crying out loud, and
Mm.
we certainly we can have tens of thousands of chickens under one roof in some of these big industrial horrifying
Mm.
operations, but we'll have millions and millions, tens of millions of bugs in these big
Mm.
operations. Okay, so as you very adequately put, what are the implications of that? What is it? So I just keep coming back to this thing of like, look, I got a dog that if I'm blessed and lucky, he lives 16 years.
Yeah.
And if I'm really blessed and lucky, he lives 20. Let's just say it's 20. Okay. 20 is nothing. Okay. Look, everybody who has kids, look how fast your kids grow up. Like,
Mm.
we all know 20 is nothing. I blinked and I was 32. And,
Yeah.
20 years ago, I was 32. Boom, I'm 52. Like, how'd that happen? So I have a very deep feeling, a very strong feeling that there is very limited time I have with my dog, and I am not
Mhm.
going to experiment on my dog during this precious time. And
Mm.
what I don't want is, our dogs aren't Benjamin Button. They don't de-age. So if you start playing around with critical nutrients like protein, we already know, like, dogs under the best diets, raw fed, like they get the best of
Mhm.
everything, the best in the world. Obviously, as we age, we degenerate. We're getting older.
Mm.
It's just the way it is. Oxygen is having its way with us,
Mm.
and we are the same as the case with our dogs. And if I was to give anything less than what I know for a fact is nutritive, is high in nutrition, is
Mm.
healthy, I am really playing a game with the future of my dog, the elderly age of my dog. So if I'm lucky, let's say to 16, we'll go back to that scenario. From 12 to 16, what those years look like. I'm sorry, I'm not willing to make that bargain.
No. And where are the studies? Where are the
Yeah.
studies? And Dr. Billinghurst might know of them, that tell us that it is not only safe but optimal to have a certain percentage of a dog's diet as bugs, for instance. Do we have studies? Because if not, then what you're saying is even more true. Why should you take the risk, right? Why is that a good thing? You always have to go back to species appropriateness, and you can be pretty sure if an animal is eating what it has always eaten, what it was raised to eat, what it was born to eat, you're taking fewer risks. And so with something new in great quantity rather than in small at the margins kinds of quantities, then then it is a big risk. And yeah, where are the studies? Do you know of any?
Yeah, no. And I'll tell you the why. I know a few uh, amazing people, beautiful, honest hearts, high integrity that are looking into this in terms
Mm-hmm.
of replacing protein. And they have the best
Of
intentions. I mean, these are
course.
great people. And I know that for a fact. But what they do is they say, well, they're very concerned about the planet. Going back to our earlier
Yeah.
conversation, they want to make a impact, a positive impact. And what they also want to do is serve their customers a little bit better and say, meat's getting expensive. I'd like to bring the price of this down and really
Mm-hmm.
serve my customers. And that is how they're coming at it. And for that, I think it's great. I I
Mm-hmm.
I, I embrace them. I absolutely embrace them. But I do think there should be a place just one step ahead where we pause. We just
Mm-hmm.
take a quick pause and we say, okay, this could possibly be a really great thing. But gee, wonder if it was cheaper to feed the chickens and the chickens got cheaper from the bugs and like
Mm.
can we reimagine things that way so we
Yeah.
still get the beautiful thing about animals is the animals that we eat is they upcycle, they transform what they eat into the thing that they become that we then
That we
eat.
can use.
It's
Yeah.
it's in this yeah, this is a step we can't skip. We must
Mm.
have the animal transform that thing that
Mm.
they're eating into their muscle, which we then eat. That's why grass fed is superior in lots of
Mm-hmm.
ways uh,
Mm-hmm.
to like a full grain diet that's GMO based. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that is it, all of that gets into the meat, either the grass or a really bad, GMO corn diet for an animal.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, so I do wonder. I think that's a place for you to maybe keep your eye on in the future
Yeah.
is pet food because what we do at our company is we have a campaign called Pets Times Planet. So what's good for the health of our pets can be good for the health of our planet.
Mm-hmm.
We source from these amazing regenerative farms like White Oak Pastures and really great farmers and that are plant-based farmers. And we want we want to embolden and empower and grow those farms and those farmers. We want to be behind them and support them.
Mm-hmm.
And our customers help us achieve that. We're all part of this big mission. So, um, we've been at this an hour. I just feel like I could easily glide through another 2 hours with you, Jayne. Um, let's talk about some parting thoughts, some last, parting thoughts. I mean, you get it. I just want to say, if anybody's intrigued by this conversation, Jayne has a wealth of podcasts on her website, the Great Plant Based con.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the screen, and you have all your podcasts posted there and all your shows, and you'll learn. Jayne is not a one-trick pony. She has, you listen to 5 shows, you're going to get 5 different angles on this thing. It is amazing, Jayne. So, thank you, by the way, for being, a person that's out and you're dedicated to the truth. You're a warrior for the truth. And, I just appreciate you. And I appreciate you hanging in with scheduling with us, which has
Oh,
not been
that's
easy.
no, that's
But
good.
I really want to thank you for what it is you do for the world and the planet and for humans and for animals. So what parting thoughts do you have as we end this show?
Parting thoughts. Well, sometimes I'd like to be very optimistic. I'd like to say that in the probably actually 3-4 years that I've been in this space, ever since I first had the idea to write the book, and now 4 years later, here I am talking about it. And I have been talking about it for 2 years. I have noticed I've noticed a couple of things happening. One is something I alluded to earlier, which is I think ordinary people, and by ordinary, I mean non-scientists, your average customer, your average person out there doing another job, raising a family, they seem to be getting smarter and more in tune with some of the things that when I first started speaking about it back in 2020 or something, it was not the case. So I'm kind of I'm heartened by that. I did an event in January this year at a wonderful debating club called the Trouble Club. It was full of probably under 35-year-olds, and there were I don't think there were any vegans in the audience. There were about 100 people in the room. Not only that, but they all thought that veganism had gone quiet a little bit, and that Veganuary, which we have over here, I don't know if you have that where you, in America, where everybody goes vegan for a month, just sort of to see how it goes and to help the planet and everything else. And all these people at this event said, no, that was practically non-existent. There was no advertising about it. It just kind of didn't happen in their minds. And so I did wonder whether that was just, sample of one, but also I have felt that the tide turning just a little bit. Has veganism shot its bolt? Has it lost all of its energy and its oomph? Are people going to look for other things? Are they going to look to get rid of the processed food in their diet? Are they going to look at farming methods and regenerative ag indicators? I think that more people are. So I think we should take a little bit of heart. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to be a massive, massive effort to convert policy, because our institutions, our governmental bodies, our advisory bodies, they are already wedded to the net zero, get rid of the cows narrative, right? Yeah. It's very hard for them to backtrack. But eventually, over time, they may backtrack in very subtle ways as the new information comes at them, and they start to see that that's a very naive way of going about affecting the climate and affecting environmental change. So I think it will be some time before our governments start to sing from a different song sheet, but it will eventually happen. I hope we get a much more rounded version of what we're supposed to be doing for the planet. And similarly with our health, a more of an admission from the folks on high that that meat and animal foods of other kinds provide absolutely fundamental nutritional contributions to our diets. So I'm going to end on that positive note. It's not all roses, but I think it's looking up.
Yeah. I guess the last parting thoughts I have on this is, again, I could do this easily for another 2 hours, but I think an hour podcast is long enough. Everybody tells me.
People get tired. They have to cook their dinner.
Yeah, exactly. But if I know quite a few vegans, I've seen what they eat. I've been in the refrigerators. It's very processed. It's more expensive per. Mm-hmm. Now, hear me now. Per, if we could put like a calorie measurement on nutrients.
Yeah.
They'll never do that because that would be the great giveaway. If you could do the caloric, and I'm not talking about calories, but the caloric measurement on nutrients per nutrient on a nutrient basis, meat is much more nutritive and it is way cheaper. Now, I'm going to say I am completely and fervently against factory farming and industrial farms. So I absolutely think we need a huge revolution in farming and ranching, and we don't need to. That's a whole other topic. But per nutrient, on a per nutrient basis, folks, meat, non-vegan, beats it every time. Beats vegan every single time. And the other thing I think it's so interesting in our pet world is everybody's all worried in the raw pet food world or homemade pet food diet, real food diet, that there's going to be this perfect balance of nutrients that like every meal gets balanced.
Yes.
Which, by the way, nobody ever has. No human has a perfectly balanced meal, and a dog
No.
and a cat certainly should not. Okay. But besides that, everybody's so freaked out about balance, but you can't have a perfectly balanced meal that is dogs, the nutrients and the calories they need to have real foods and meats for the development of all of our organs and our tissues and the fats, the animal-based fats, not plant-based fats. All of that's incredibly critical to us just functioning, our brains to work, all of that. We need all of those things. If we don't have those things, creating a version of a real food from a vegan source may visually and on our mouth feel similar, but that's pretty much all it gives us, and that's pretty much where it ends. And all of the folks that the fun, cool thing about being a diabolical business person with Frankenfoods is it takes a couple honest years for nutrient deficiencies to show up. And then it's so far away from the time you started. You forget why you're nutrient deficient. You think it's your fault. Well, it kind of is your fault because you decide what goes in your mouth. But what you should be blaming is these fake things that you're eating.
Yeah. Well,
over a period of 24 months.
We talk about the vegan honeymoon, where people who switch to a vegan diet feel great temporarily. And the temporary could be for 3 months, could be for 3 years, it could be even longer. And they might feel great because they've given up a whole bunch of other rubbish that they were eating, and they're now eating more fruits and vegetables. So they probably feel great. And it takes a long time for the real deep nutritional deficiencies to set in and for that honeymoon to be over. And it can take 5 years for a vitamin B12 deficiency to really register. And by then it might be too late. Okay. Now that's human. When we talk about dogs, I've seen all the stuff on the internet about, oh my God, I feed my dog a vegan diet and he's never been better. He's got so much energy. He feels great. Well, how do you know that your dog feels great? The poor dogs can't tell us. And all we can do is just look at those very superficial signs. And by the time those start to change, what's going on inside, it might be too late. So it really is almost more important to think about it with the dog, because they have no say in the matter. They'll just eat whatever you put in front of them, and they won't question it.
Also, they're incredible. They are absolutely, over millions of years, adapted to hide and disguise their weaknesses. When they're not feeling well, they do not show it until it's too late.
Right.
Or until it's really bad. Yeah. So, this whole thing about, anthropomorphizing and, that's a whole other topic. What we think we know about our pets is very interesting. I just say, hey, go to the blood tests. I mean, I could easily, and very politely and respectfully eviscerate a plant-based animal, dog or cat diet, by just saying, look, try it. That's your prerogative. You're the caretaker of this animal. And then let's do the following blood tests and let's compare them. We'll just compare my dog to your dog's blood test. It's easy to do. It's not hard. So, and then I want to look at the ingredients and I want to know how it's processed, because I'll dig into that. And I think everybody should do that. Why would you make a decision with a lack of information or in a vacuum? Why would you do that?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
I care where my cow is grown. Like, I care about the way these animals were raised. And I also, by the way, care about the way they were slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
I very much care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take great care in knowing the entire, the whole, from the beginning to the package process.
Yeah.
I care very much about that. And if you don't, that's okay. Everybody has everybody has full freedom to trust and believe in who they believe in and eat what they want and all that. Nobody needs us to give them permission to do that. And you're also completely and fully responsible for the results that you get from those things.
Yeah. So good point.
Yeah. And I am also hardened. I think that I'm seeing a lot more over here as well, Jayne. And so I am hardened, and I always have an optimistic view of the world. I think you're right. People, so I just come from a genuine belief that everybody's smart, that everybody gets it. It's only a matter of time. Like, some people are very busy just paying the bills. Some people are dealing with health issues. Some people, there's lots of things that are in people's lives, and people have different bandwidths to handle what's happening in their life. But eventually, given enough time, they come around.
Yeah. Something hits, something clicks in their mind. Yeah.
Something. And I just hope and pray it isn't a vitamin B12 deficiency or, God forbid, cancer or another regenerative disease, that now you're in a stage where you have infinitely less options and possibilities and infinitely less ability to turn that negative around. So I hope that everybody here who's had a chance to listen, I hope that, for our vegan friends, which, by the way, I have a lot of them, our folks that are likely going to comment in all sorts of ways in this video that meat's expensive, this and this. There's going to be a lot of excuses. And I don't think Jayne and I have answers for a lot of these things. All we are is just wanting everybody to understand that you want to eat what you put in your body and your pets' bodies is very important. And you want to eat and feed with full knowledge and awareness of what it is that you're giving your pets and what you're giving yourself.
And full observation of what it's doing. As we ask people to be observing their own health as they eat different things, do the same for the pets, and be honest about it. And some of them may do fine for quite long periods of time on whatever diet you manage to put in front of them, but it's the honesty about what people are seeing that's important.
Yeah. I mean, that's the theme. If you force me to give a theme to this show, it's honesty. That's it.
Good.
Well, Jayne, I really want to thank you. This has just been great.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for a great conversation. It was really interesting. And you pushed me to be thinking more about the animals, the pets that we have, than I normally do. So that's, that was great.
Well, I know you're a dog lover for sure. So hopefully it'll get you in that area. We'd love to have your mind working on that area as well. So thanks everybody for watching. And Jayne Buxton, thanks very much. Go to the Great Plant-Based
Con. Or they can use my name, and that'll take them also. Yeah.
That's right. And that's for folks that are listening to our podcast and not watching. It's thegreatplantbasedcon.com. Please visit, look up Jayne Buxton, Jayne. Thanks again, Jayne.
Thank you.